What's going on, Street Motors ears? Today we're going to talk about lane filtering and lane splitting. Let's get on this 636, fire her up, and we'll get to talking about that. Have some interesting details for you. Some new laws popped up on the books. Get rolling here. I've got this nice sounding exhaust now, the M4. It's doing some singing, getting some cool little pops and bangs. I didn't ask for that option. I think the motor just does it. But I want to talk to you a little bit about lane splitting and lane filtering. I'm in South Carolina. I can't do any of that. Come on, man. Why can't I do any lane filtering or lane splitting? Because there's laws against it here in South Carolina. Oh well. But there's other states that have some cool laws. And let's find out what we can get into with lane splitting and lane filtering. The only state where you can truly lane split and lane filter to your heart's desire, and you need to be careful doing it, of course, is California. They allow you to lane split and lane filter. Well, what is lane splitting and lane filtering? Let's talk about lane splitting first. Lane splitting is where you have more than two lanes. You got to have more than two lanes. You can't split or filter on just a two-lane highway, by the way. We're talking like a four-lane highway or bigger. So you have multiple lanes going in the same direction. And when you lane split, if everybody is driving, let's say 45 or 50 and the speed limit is 60, well, you can get in there and lane split between the cars in California only. And you usually want to go about 10 miles per hour faster than the other cars, or less, or slow down, and just make sure you can get through all those cars safely. Lane splitting would be awesome if you have like interstates where the speed limit's, let's say, 65 and everybody's doing 50 because there's just so much congestion going on, and they slow down to 45 and they slow down to 30, then they go back up to 40, then they're down to 30. Well, you can split in between all of those cars on that interstate, not on the side of the road or not on the inside of the road, but in between each one of the lanes. If it's a 6-lane interstate, you have 2 lanes that you can do lane splitting in. And the people in California are real chill. They don't get uptight and angry at the motorcycles because they're getting passed and they're having to stay behind the car in front of them. Most of the drivers in California will kind of make a little area for you to pass them safely, and it's actually against the law for any of those car riders to try to keep a motorcycle from lane splitting, which I think is primo, baby, primo. There are 8 states that are considering lane splitting. Can you believe that? There's discussions and litigations and politicians and lawyers and all that stuff going on discussing lane splitting in these states. And there's a possibility that it may happen. It may happen similar to California, maybe not exactly, but similar. Those 8 states are here listed below on the screen. And hopefully one of those states will open it up, because the more states that have it, the more that'll get it. Now let's talk about lane filtering, which is a little bit more complex. At first I thought, well, when you go up to a stoplight and all the cars are stopped, you can filter into the front of the line and go first. Well, there's a lot more to lane filtering than that. I wish it was that simple, but there's a lot of other situations you can get into. Of course, the stoplight is filtering. You filter up to the front and then go ahead of everybody else. Well, Minnesota just passed a cool law in July of this year, and they allow no lane splitting, but you can lane filter. However, when you lane filter on a motorcycle, you can go in between the cars on a multiple lane highway, not a 2-lane highway, but you can't go over 25 miles an hour. If all the cars are on the interstate and they're like stopped on the interstate, well, that happens a lot because all the interstate maintenance that goes on, and you get maintenance and you get all these cars going like 10 miles per hour or zero stopped on the interstate, the motorcycles will be able to lane filter through those cars because the motorcycle's not going to go over 25. You really don't want to go 10 miles per hour faster than all the cars that you're passing anyway. So if they're stopped, you can go 10 miles per hour and get on down there and get through all that mess on the interstate where they're doing all the maintenance and all the big trucks are slowing everybody down, and then the people rubbernecking are slowing people down. For lane filtering, there are actually 6 states, 5 plus 1, 6 states that allow lane filtering. And those states are listed here on the screen. You can see them. And they have all different kind of weird little intricate laws around lane filtering, where you can go in and get ahead of the cars on like a stoplight and get ahead of them and just go on, and you really don't slow the cars down. There's another situation that's really weird. There are 7 states in the United States that have no laws, 0 laws at all about lane filtering and lane splitting. And here's the 7 states. If you do it, you're really not breaking the law, but you know what happens if you're in one of them, let's say Mississippi, and you're lane splitting and the policeman pulls you over. He won't write a ticket against you for lane splitting. He might write a ticket for you for reckless driving or endangerment or something like that. You got to be really careful in these states doing that. I'm sure each one is a little bit different. Would I risk lane splitting and lane filtering in those states? Only when absolutely necessary, or where I feel I just really need to do it for safety reasons, or if there's some kind of weird thing going on. For example, in South Carolina, I cannot filter or split. If traffic comes to a standstill and nobody's moving on the interstate at all, I have to sit behind the car in front of me and smell his exhaust fumes the whole time. But if I filtered down through there, I could get up front and get in a better position, or I could pull off to the side of the road, turn my motorcycle off, and lay down on the grass beside the interstate. You know, there needs to be some law that give motorcycles more freedom when it comes to lane splitting, lane filtering, especially with the issue of interstates stop and go traffic. I have a cool example of this. When Chris and I were heading up to North Carolina to do some mountain riding, we ran into a situation where there's some maintenance going on, and I'll show you some video here, and it closed down one of the 4 lanes, so we only had 1 lane to ride in, and then the traffic went to an all-time stop, and it just stopped. Nobody was moving anywhere. My motorcycle was getting temperature hot, and so we just made the decision to go ahead and filter. And so we did that. We filtered ahead of a lot of traffic, and that traffic was just not moving at all. Apparently there was a stalled car in the road, and a wrecker had to come and get it off the road, and all the traffic was backed up. So it really made sense from a safety perspective, and also made sense, you know, just from a freedoms perspective for travel, to be able to filter in this case, even though it was probably illegal. I think a lot of the cops, they're mostly all good, even though you see some videos about bad cops. Most all of them are cool and very understanding. They won't put up with shenanigans on one hand, but on the other hand, you know, they're going to understand situations really well because they see it all the time. If there's an issue where you need to lane filter or lane split due to dangerous conditions or issues like that, they're probably going to be cool with it and not even do anything about it. Well, I hope you like this video, little video on lane splitting, lane filtering. One day South Carolina will have it, and I'll do some filtering and splitting and be happy to be able to do all that. I hope you guys have a great day. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, subscribe, and ring that bell down there so you get notified on the next video from Street Moto Z.